Hey everyone. So before I start talking about participating in the steepest race in the world, I want to give you guys a little bit of background information and some of the history around it. So Copper Peak is the only ski flying facility in the Western Hemisphere, located shortly outside of Ironwood, Michigan. It is the largest artificial ski jump in the world, and it was built in 1969, holding its first international ski flying competition in 1970. The record jump from Copper Peak is a total of 145 meters. So my first year in college had just ended and the Red Bull 400 was approaching pretty fast. The Red Bull 400, for those who don't know, is the most extreme and steepest global 400-meter uphill sprint. This race was going to take place at the Copper Peak ski jump, making it so participants start at the bottom of the ski jump and race 400 meters uphill for a total of 40 stories to the top of the largest artificial ski jump tower in the world. Everyone thought I was crazy for wanting to participate in this, and that I was in way over my head. But I was going to do it anyway. So, to give you guys a little bit of a visual representation, this is the video that Red Bull had put out for the race. Never being the athletic type, this was something that was completely new to me, and thus I had no training, no workout routines, no preparation whatsoever. Come the morning of, I actually woke up with a sick stomach, so when my aunt asked what time I ran so she could come and watch, I said that I actually wasn't going to because I wasn't feeling good. After a couple hours went by, I decided that I might as well go and get the shirt and lunch that was included when I paid to participate in the race. When I finally pulled into the parking lot, I saw the jump and I decided, you know what? I'm feeling a little better. I'm gonna do this. I grabbed my gloves, quickly threw them on, and got onto the next bus towards the jump. While on the bus, I put my hand on the seat in front of me and took this black and white picture and put the quote, "Don't limit your challenges, challenge your limits." No one knew I was going to race that day, so no one was there to support me and cheer me on, besides my teacher, who was also participating in the race. Looking up that hill, I knew I was in way over my head. Still feeling somewhat sick to my stomach, I nervously got ready and paced back and forth as I waited for them to call for my heat. Once they finally did, I slowly approached the gate and stopped. I knew that if I walked out of this gate, there was no turning back. I took a deep breath, closed my eyes, and then lightly started to jog to the starting line. There I sat, nervous, scared, and sick to my stomach, looking up the hill and the jump and thinking there was no going back now. That's when my teacher jumped the fence and ran over to me to give me a little bit of prep talk. He gave me some words of encouragement, a little bit of advice, and told me the hill is the worst part. The plan was to only do the hill. Once you reach the top of the hill, it actually signals the halfway point of the race. You would be given a cup of water, and you could decide to either continue the race or exit right there. But the moment you stepped foot on the jump itself, you needed to finish the race. So as I sat on the starting line, I watched the clock slowly tick down for what felt like an eternity, until finally the gun went off and everyone around me bolted for the hill. Using a little bit of strategy, I let someone get directly in front of me with the idea that they would be using more force to lift the rope off of the hill, and I could just tag along right behind them. The guy that was directly in front of me would continue to stop just as I would begin to lose my breath. At first I really liked this, but after going about halfway up the hill, I literally whispered to myself, "Screw it," and jumped to the other side of the rope. I felt like I could do better. As I began to run out of breath, I whispered to myself to keep going. I knew I wasn't going to be the last person up the hill anymore, so I wanted to see just how many people I could pass up. And as the rope ended, I went to the side of the hill and continued to crawl my way up. Upon reaching the top, I stood in exhaustion, completely out of breath, and one of my favorite photos was taken. I was given a cup of water, and as I shot my head back to drink it, all I could hear was my teacher's voice in my head telling me the hill is the worst part. Without even finishing the water or taking a moment to fully catch my breath, like many of the other racers were doing, I threw the cup into the garbage, wiped my mouth, shook my head, and said, "I've come all this way, I'm not stopping now." I remember taking that very first step on the jump, and time seeming to slow down. I remember smiling and looking up and seeing the finish line just ahead, thinking, "I got this." As I made my way up though, I just could not catch my breath. And a couple photos were taken showing truly how exhausted and in pain I was. I really used to hate these photos until I realized it captured the discomfort perfectly. I ended up going to the stairs people were using to come down, and I used the railing to hold myself up. I started to stop because I just needed to catch my breath. I couldn't breathe. And then at one point, a heavier set guy walked past me on his way down and yelled to me, "I'm 5 times the size of you. If I can do this, you can do this." I just laughed, I pushed myself off the railing and towards the middle of the jump. I continued to crawl to the finish line, and I hesitated and stopped right before it. Everyone was yelling, "You got this, only 2 more steps." And once again, time seemed to have slowed down. I could hear their voices echoing, and I could see workers holding their hands out to me on the opposite side of the finish line. But the thing was, I didn't know if I could take 1 more step, let alone 2. I felt like collapsing. That's when I looked behind me, and I could barely see the next wave of people lining up at the starting line. Then I noticed another racer, someone I knew, and he was desperately trying to reach the finish line before me. I don't know where I got it, but I suddenly got a short burst of energy, just enough to launch myself forward and through the finish line. Right before the other racer, I might add. I feel like this story is a very important life lesson. After I finished, I was given some oxygen, I got sick to my stomach, and my legs were shaking so much and uncontrollably that honestly I was shocked that I could even stand, let alone walk. They stayed that way for the next half hour to an hour even. The staff had asked if I wanted to take the elevator down, but ultimately I took the stairs like a champ and proudly collected my finisher medal. See, this was just one big example of pushing through and seeking discomfort. Many times throughout your life, you are going to have similar feelings and opportunities to quit, but you just have to keep going. Even when you're on the jump and the finish line is visibly like in the distance, you may still feel like you're in over your head. You might feel scared, nervous, questioning if you should have ever started in the first place. But you can make it through it. You just have to keep taking those deep breaths when the opportunity is given. And you just got to keep putting one foot in front of the other, even when one more step seems impossible. Because ultimately, it's in those moments of discomfort when you're sore, exhausted, and feel like there's no possible way. It's in those moments of pushing through that all the hard work pays off. I had just finished the steepest race in the world in just under 13 minutes, with no preparation and no training. I was never athletic, but I sought discomfort, and for that, I was rewarded and given a memory I will cherish for the rest of my life. And I'm not even gonna lie, I look forward to competing in the race next time. Thank you all for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed. If you did, please give me a like and a subscribe, and I will see you all on the next adventure.